Sono situazioni in cui la scienza occidentale è riuscita a mettersi a disposizione di altre culture in un modo sinergico e non dominante. Mi viene in mente, ad esempio, di alcuni progetti, in cui, ad esempio, si complementa magari il sapere delle popolazioni indigene con il sapere occidentale, che è basato ovviamente magari sulla tecnologia, sul metodo quindi scientifico oggettivo, che può però servire ad esempio a un sistema di trattamento delle acque inquinate, mi viene da pensare. Secondo me la scienza occidentale riesce ad accelerare un po' i tempi di resilienza di queste popolazioni per cercare nuove soluzioni di fronte a un problema immediato, tipo una miniera inquina l'acqua in una popolazione indigena. Loro non hanno gli strumenti né per misurarla né per ridurre questo inquinamento, e lì è quando secondo me la scienza occidentale arriva in supporto in questi contesti, e quindi ad esempio attraverso una tecnologia che può anche essere studiata in funzione ovviamente di processi naturali, quindi ad esempio biofiltri per ridurre la concentrazione di metalli pesanti nell'acqua, oppure a sistemi di collezione dell'acqua, sistemi di osservazione e monitoraggio delle risorse naturali. In questi contesti la scienza occidentale può aiutare e mettersi a disposizione di queste popolazioni.
I think it's case to case, yeah, because when you talk about pesticide, this community have already have like their traditional methods in agriculture to reduce pest infestation. But when this modern science of pesticide, which giving them like an instant result, they choose that. So there is a changing of traditional practices. While if you're talking about sanitation, I think it's really helped them, because usually when people have like houses above the waters, they don't have like a good sanitation facility. I think it's contributing, though in this case Western or objective science helping to improve their life.
Even with the consideration of indigenous knowledge, there's no argument that like electricity provides important services. Just the fact of have lighting, that children are not studying by candlelight. So my first encounter with this part of like the indigenous knowledge was in one of my first projects when we were talking about solar energy using solar panels. So each household would have a standalone solar panel, and they were afraid that the panel would hurt the sun because the sun is one of their deities. So that's when I started learning about Mayan cosmovision, because the project did not change. What changed is the interpretation. What changed is how we explained it and how they understood that like the solar panel will absorb the strength of the sun and provide it to and provide you with electricity, that you're benefiting from the sun's power and it's not going to harm it. But to be able to come to that interpretation, it took me like a year of studying Mayan cosmovision and understanding what it was about and that relationship with nature, and that the sun is not just the sun. For them, it's one of their gods, and it's respected. I think it complements, because yes, they did need the electricity and they got the electricity and they're super happy with it and they've seen all the benefits, but it was also under their terms, not ours. So that's why I say that the learning part is two ways, because when you see like just with this one example, it's not that one excludes the other. We use the solar panel, that's more like Western, but it was understood and implemented in a term that was acceptable to them.
Some of European, Asian, and American and Chinese are coming in our country, going to do the research, the scientific research in our forest, and they don't give us the result. Is making a book and some result of the research. No, they don't give back the knowledge to our community. And sometimes they come and it's free. It's free. the information, you have to pay in order to have information, but they are taking the information very free and no recognized to the communities.
Si parte proprio da due approcci diversi, no, della conoscenza, cioè la conoscenza appunto tradizionale delle popolazioni indigene, appunto olistica, esperienziale, c'è al centro comunque l'ambiente, la persona. Invece la scienza occidentale è molto più sul causa-effetto, sul metodo analitico, materialistica, oggettiva, accademica, e quindi l'uomo in realtà è separato dalla natura. E quindi sì, bisogna appunto stare attenti che in questo processo di diffusione delle conoscenze, nel momento in cui si cerca di usare, applicare la conoscenza tradizionale o viceversa integrare la conoscenza occidentale nella conoscenza indigena tradizionale, bisogna appunto evitare, soprattutto in quest'ultimo caso, di far implodere quello che è il loro sistema su cui loro hanno basato tutta la loro identità. Quindi bisogna ovviamente entrarci in punta di piedi, insomma capire come integrare queste conoscenze e rispettare anche il modo in cui loro hanno sempre studiato e visto e sentito il mondo, no? Quindi bisogna complementarla ma non andarsi a sostituire ovviamente né omogenizzare il loro sapere. In realtà loro si trovano quindi appunto a rielaborare un po' le loro conoscenze, integrandole con appunto nuovi strumenti di interpretazione del mondo e soprattutto nuovi strumenti di risoluzione dei problemi. Quindi mi viene da pensare proprio che la scienza occidentale dovrebbe a questo punto cercare di risolvere i problemi che lei stessa ha creato in questi territori.
Because we work with the community that have to deal with water pollutions, the skills that we bring to them is like a validating their point of view. For example, they only able to say that the water pollution from the taste, from the watercolors. But when we bring like the testing equipment, they understand the level of pollution. So it's like a validating their point of view. You don't say climate change. They don't understand about climate change, but we talk about how for example, the environmental destructions will impacting their life. What we do with the community is we're doing like a reforestations in their own land so they can monitor their own land with 10,000 native trees and fruits in their lands for reforestations. We encourage them to have like waste management systems because this village is far from the city and they don't have like waste transportation. So mainly the waste was disposed into the river and or burning it. So we are providing them alternatives. It's a really small scale alternative. Like we provide them composter so they can make compost of it for the organic waste and then use it to plant vegetables in their houses. Or we train them to do like to collecting plastic waste and making an eco bricks, putting filling the bottle with plastic and then making into another equipment like chairs or tables. That's what we do right now with them. And also we're working with them to do more organic farming, come back to their traditional practices. This kind of things I think help to fight climate change by combining science and their traditional practices.
Western science has had important contributions, but that again, it doesn't need to be mine is right and yours is wrong. I mean, I think some things of, say, you would call traditional knowledge do need to be debunked, like the thing of pangolin scales being good for having more babies or whatever it is they say, and bringing pangolins near to extinction, and like whatever the horns do in the bear bile and whatever is used for medicine when it hasn't really been proven. I think there's something to say about that, like Western science has, have evidence that it doesn't happen. But I think in general, there shouldn't be that exclusion of one or the other. And I think that begs the other question of, is there a tinge of racism there?
Noi ci occupiamo quindi di raccogliere evidenze scientifiche, prove dell'inquinamento ambientale, delle varie attività estrattive. Quando parlo di attività estrattive espando proprio al concetto, appunto, uso il concetto di estrattivismo generale, quindi tutte quelle attività umane che depredano le risorse naturali, quindi si parla di miniere, si parla di estrazioni petrolifere di gas, di monoculture, e quindi noi appunto quello che facciamo è raccogliere queste prove che la compagnia X sta contaminando il fiume X e colpendo la salute, ovviamente impattando, quindi danneggiando la salute delle popolazioni locali, e lo facciamo quindi con dei monitoraggi ambientali delle varie matrici, quindi acqua, analisi delle acque, del suolo, anche del cibo, dell'aria, e anche con dei biomonitoraggi, quindi si studia anche l'impatto che queste attività estrattive hanno sulla salute delle persone, con analisi delle urine, per andare a ritrovare ad esempio alcuni contaminanti che le attività estrattive utilizzano. Si misurano anche le concentrazioni di alcuni metalli pesanti nel capello, nel sangue. E con tutti questi dati quello che facciamo è ovviamente condividerli, aprire un tavolo di negoziazione comunque con gli attori locali in gioco, quindi si include anche, si pubblica e si condivide lo studio con la compagnia di turno quando si può, si informa il governo locale di questo studio, di questi risultati, si lavora con le comunità, anche perché poi sono loro che decidono fondamentalmente che cosa vogliono fare con questi dati, che tipo di attività vogliono intraprendere, se vogliono andare per un processo civile o legale, dipendendo ovviamente da caso a caso.
Right now we're talking more about nature-based solutions. So Kian and I, I'm sure you know, we're together in the special report on global warming at 1.5. And some of the solutions we talk were also like ecosystems-based adaptation, community-based adaptation, but also I think one of the most important contributions was that we looked at the synergies and trade-offs between mitigation and adaptation, bringing everything together under the same framework of system transitions. And that you're not looking in silos of sectors, but in system transitions where you talk about everything that goes into a system and how options within a system have a relationship and they have a dependency, and how one affects the other. Because even one adaptation solution can be harmful for another, and so forth. So I think it's important to understand that. But when we're trying to talk about nature-based solutions, I think it's also just looking at nature, of how we can make nature survive and thrive and be sustainable, whether it's to the benefit of humans or not. I mean, when you have this whole long list of species that we're losing every year, many of them we don't even know existed. And I'm sure they played some important role in their ecosystem. We are using more and more of indigenous knowledge. IPCC has been more open to using gray literature, which I think is important in regions like Latin America, when access to English printed journals is hard, even to get accepted, because English is not the first language, and even more so for indigenous populations that sometimes don't even speak Spanish. What's the role of indigenous knowledge and traditional knowledge? I think it's important. I think it's important for people to realize that it's something grounded and it's there. It's not just something like, oh, we should listen to this person or that person, but that people have depended on it. People have survived on it.
You're shouting every day. You're writing to the government. You're writing to the company. You're shouting out to the China so that they can go away. And we are sensibilizing the community to put off all of China who's doing timber in our country. We have two laws who's making together the company, the people who's cutting, who's doing the timber together, so that we can make dialogue about the deforestation and to make some, what can I say, measure. You are going to take perhaps 100 hectares. If you want to take a big forest, where people say, we say to the people, they sensibilize to say no. We have to have some, what can I say, agreement. Before doing the logging, we have to make some agreement, and the agreements have to be signed by the communities and by the company, so that, and we have the law. The law, we make dialogue, we make the agreement, and we say together for the logging in order to limit the deforestation. It's the same way for the mine, because mining and to take the petrol. That's we are working with some service of the government as environment ministries, the Ministry of Trade, and so on. We are working with indigenous people because we have the problem of violence, different violence. We have the marginalization and the discrimination. That's why we are making the law with all of the indigenous people who are in DRC, and the law is now in the parliament. We are writing the sign with the president of Congo so that indigenous women can have the law. We have some specific law according to women, and the law, we are making a translation of this different law in the local languages, so that we can, the women in the villages everywhere can have some information according to the law, and to put it out. How can we do what the law says so that they can have the women's rights? Every day we are making a dialogue with women, with local communities, with indigenous people, the First Nation, so that they can know that this is the law. If someone can hear and he want to do the timber, this is the law. The law permits to have dialogue, to discuss, and to make the decision together.
Personally can say that I've learned a lot from you. And so I would encourage others to learn about, I mean, maybe not of all indigenous knowledge, but maybe of the indigenous populations that are closest to you. I think there's real value to that. And I think that we need to also view nature as not just providing a service to us, because I think that utilitarian view is very damaging. You know, that you protect a water source because it's useful for us, or that you protect a species because of whatever reason, not because they also have a role to play within ecosystems, whether it benefits humans or not. And I can't say that this is what the Mayan cosmovision says, but what I can say is that it's not a utilitarian view. And maybe that is something that Western knowledge needs to learn. You know, that a tree is not wood. It's not wood for furniture or for fuel wood or whatever purpose you give. I mean, a tree is oxygen.
The area, the Borneo is famous for their peatland, right? But the government of Indonesia have plan or have execute plan to planting paddy in these peatlands. So the community already understand that this kind of paddy cannot survive in this peatland, but the government keeps on doing it, and it's a harvest failure. And it's also become problematic because the peatland is the carbon sinking ecosystem that they often, the community or the IP finds that a lot of fish, there's big fishes that have high economic value live there. So they tend to protect these peatlands the government doesn't listen to them, just go on with the programs. But if you see how they protect it, that will help, or they manage their peatland, you can see how it will help the fight the climate change.
Se diciamo la scienza occidentale fosse rivoluzionaria e trasformativa in senso positivo, dovrebbe essere ovviamente al servizio anche di queste popolazioni. Quindi bisognerebbe appunto far sì che la scienza fosse veramente sostenibile, e quindi, visto che comunque anche per scienza intendiamo appunto le tecnologie e le strumentazioni, queste dovrebbero essere, mi viene in mente ad esempio l'auto elettrica. L'auto elettrica fondamentalmente è costruita con terre rare e litio, che però viene estratto ad esempio dal deserto della Bolivia. La Bolivia è uno dei paesi al mondo con la più alta percentuale di popolazione indigene, quindi se noi cerchiamo attraverso la scienza occidentale di mettere in pratica quindi un'economia verde, però è verde per chi? Perché è verde da una parte per quei paesi in cui si utilizza come utilizzatori finali di queste auto elettriche, quindi ad esempio noi che compriamo l'auto elettrica per non inquinare le nostre città, però in realtà noi stiamo appunto estraendo e contaminando, in questo caso in Bolivia. Quindi bisogna stare appunto attenti col progresso scientifico, però a non... e quindi bisogna stare attenti anche sul termine di progresso scientifico, stare attenti a non arginare il problema, ma cercare ovviamente di risolverlo alla base.